Welcome to Custom Home Builder Solutions, a web-based software, also known as CHS, a standalone accounting suite focused on job costing and profit management for professional home builders.
Hi, this is Carol King, the developer of Custom Home Builder Solutions, also known as CHS. This video will be a continuation of videos that we are doing about setting up vendors or people that you pay money to in CHS. This particular video, I'm going to click this vendor setup. This particular video is going to be about payment terms, setting up payment terms that the vendor requires, setting up if you deduct retainage from them and the day, and also putting what day things are due onto the vendor as defaults that will drop in when you're entering bills. So let's go back to the vendors list and setup. First, I'm going to demonstrate a payment discount that a vendor provides. So I want to go to I think it's called Pro Build. So I'm going to quickly move to it by clicking the P here. And I can see Pro Build here, and I'll use my pencil edit icon to open Pro Build. In previous videos, we talked about setting up basic vendor information, 1099 information, defaults that will drop in when we enter the bill that you'll see in a minute. See these various defaults that we set up that will just drop in for us to enter the bill. But what we're going to talk about in these videos is this section, payment terms, retainage, and day due. First of all, I'm going to talk about a discount percent. If the vendor offers a discount for paying within a certain time period, enter a discount rate right here in this field. If a rate other than 0 is found in this field, CHS is going to alert you that the vendor is marked for a discount deduction at the time you're entering a new bill for the vendor. If you mark to take the discount, the program will post the deduction at the time the bill is posted. So we've set this vendor up. They offer a 2% discount if we pay within 10 days of the bill. So also number of days due, we put a 10 in here. That's often referred to as 210 net 30. If you pay it within 10 days, they'll give you a discount. If you otherwise don't pay it in 10 days, it's due in 30 days. So I just wanted to show you that I haven't actually changed anything. So let's just close this. And I want to go over and quickly enter a bill to show you what happens with that particular vendor. So let's do it from scratch. Let's select Pro Build right here. And I do want to point out that if you think of something that you need to change about the setup of the vendor, you can do it with the pencil edit icon right here. It's giving you a little notice that you should close this window and reopen it so all those changes can take effect. But here it is. I opened it up again and it shows that 210 net 30. So let's start a job-related bill here. The first thing that pops up, since it detected that this vendor offers a payment discount, is do you want to take the payment discount? Maybe you're entering it too late and you don't want to take it, or whatever other reason. But let's say yes, we want to take the discount. Then this question that pops up has mostly to do really with cost plus type contracts where the buyer of the home is paying for all of the costs. And some builders don't want to give that discount to that buyer. They want to put it over in something else, maybe miscellaneous income or something else like that. And they asked for me to put this in here that you do not apply this to the job cost. But this builder's real nice to their home buyer. And so we're going to say yes, we want to lower the job cost by the amount of the discount. So I'm going to close that. Because I selected yes here, another box actually opened up in the line for entering bills over here that's payment discount. When you're entering the bill, let's just go ahead and get ourselves a job selected here. When you're entering this, and if you haven't done this before, if you haven't done a discount before, these will be empty. It'll have a 0 here, and it's going to insist that you put a GL account to post the discount to. Since we said we wanted to post it to job costs, it gave the same GL number that we have over here dropping in. But you could change this if you want to keep, for accounting reasons, if you want to keep all your discounts in a different account on your chart of accounts. Please discuss this with your accountant. All kinds of things dropped in based on what was set on that vendor setup. You've seen previous videos about how the cost, you have a default cost code for the vendor that dropped in. This one happens to be framing package, but you could change it right now. A default GL account number, we won't talk about that again, but right here you'll notice that today's date, this is the date I'm doing this video, of 11/23/20 dropped in, so 10 days from that dropped in as the due date. Let's say maybe this was actually dated on the 20th, the invoice, so that only gives us to November 30 to give it paid if we pay it in 10 days. Give it some random invoice number, because we don't really have an invoice. We don't have to do a description because it is for framing material for this job, and there's no 1099 from the defaults we saw before. But let's go ahead and just give it a nice round number, just because that's what the bill is for. I'm sure with lumber it won't be a nice round number. But what I want to point out about discounts is the discount will only be applied to the base price, the $2,500 total over here before tax. So if I put a sales tax percent, is what that sales tax I meant to say. If I put a sales tax percent in here that I see on the invoice, and then this amount does happen to equal the invoice, you're going to see that the discount was only applied to this base amount and not to sales tax. And that's generally how anybody providing a discount, the vendors that provide discounts, do not have the discount be applied to the sales tax, because they have to turn around and give that money to the state. So down here you can see a total going on, the sales tax going on, the discount of 50, and the net that we will be paying. So hopefully that's fine with you, and then you'll do a submit, which we'll do here in just a second. I also wanted to point out to you, this is like a framing material type invoice, and you may have other jobs that you want to pay. Maybe you want to go ahead and just copy this line, and you can keep adding lines until it adds up to the total invoice. Maybe you want to copy it just because you don't want to have to type 8 1/4 again. So say there's stuff for another job, or there's stuff that you want to apply to some other cost code. You know, maybe it's for materials house wrap for that same job, or maybe that's for a different job. So you can go ahead and do that. And if you want to change the description here to describe that that's for house wrap or for whatever it is, and then let's say that's for just 500, just to be even. Now we have 2 lines. I'm not going to do this line, so I'm going to delete that line. It's going to be marked as deleted, and it will not post. I'd like to go ahead and submit this one. Notice our totals have gone back to just being for that one line. You'll see more about all of that, adding lines, when we do the videos about actually posting bills. Let's submit this, and I'm going to post it as unpaid to pay later in a check run. What I'd like you to see is what got posted right here. I clicked a button because it'll let you see. CHS posted one line, $2,500, for the amount, and then it posted another line for sales tax, which it put a sales type, a cost type of sales tax on it. The reason it does that is because sometimes home buyers will ask you for a list of all the sales tax that's been paid. So we put it into a separate line, and you can go to your payables bills and search for everything that has sales tax. And then it went ahead and posted the minus $50 discount. So this is an amount that has gone to unpaid payables for us, and that we would be able to select to pay in a check run later. Just wanted to show you that part. So let's go back to the vendors list, and let's talk about some more of the stuff in that box. Let me go ahead and show all. And maybe let's just use ABC Foundation for the next demonstration. So there's a 0 for them for the discount over here. We will come back to Retainage as the last part of this video, but let's say their bills are always due on the 15th of the month for whatever reason. So we put a 15 in here for them when you do the day of the month. The program will then supply the 15th as the due date when entering bills for payments for the appropriate month. But let's just demonstrate that for ABC Foundation. Let's go back to create payment bills that we left open. And let's do ABC, job related bill. I'm not going to enter the job or anything here. We're just going to look at that due date now when entering the bill. I think you probably have the concept of entering the bill. We just want to look at the invoice date that CHS supplied automatically is today, 11/23/2020. So, since we set it up to be the 15th day of the month following the due date, the invoice date, it's supplied 12/15/2020. Let's look and see what happens if the invoice date was November 10th. Then it's applying the 15th following. So in this case, it would be the 15th of the month. If you're early in the month, it would be that same month. If you're late in the month, your invoice date is late in the month, it would be the next month. So again, if we put in that the date is after the 15th, like the 20th, it's now saying it's due December 15th. You can search for bills to pay based on due dates, etc., so that's why all of this gets important. Anyway, that demonstrates what it did with ABC Foundation. Let's go back to the vendors list. Let's just use ABC Foundation again. And let's just say it's due the end of the month, and we check mark that, and notice how CHS automatically put a 0 here. If you have something in the days due, it will clear these out to 0 and not checked, etc. It'll take care of it. You can only do one of these things. So let's save that. Just look at it super quick. So let's go back and look and see what happens when we enter a bill for ABC Foundation again. I'm just going to play like this isn't for a job so we can get through this a little bit faster. I just wanted to look at the invoice date. So here's today's date, and it says for end of month. Let's pretend that, I'll get alerted about this, but let's pretend like this is dated December 2nd. It alerts me that I've entered a date in the future from today, which is kind of good. It helps prevent you from making mistakes, but that's okay. Now notice that it changed the due date to 12/31/2020. If we go back to November, and we got this bill, November 19th is the date of the bill. Now we're back to November 30 for the due date. I think you'll get that concept. So let's close this. We're going to move on back to the vendors list, and I'm going to select this particular vendor, Acosta Framing, to edit. And we're going to talk about if you decide that this vendor you plan to withhold retainage from. You will first check mark this saying, yes, I want to hold with retainage from this vendor. It's a little early in the morning, so I keep getting tongue-tied. And the amount of the retainage that you want to withhold. If you'd like to know more about retainage, it says if the checkbox is checked, a pop-up message will occur at the time an invoice is selected to pay for this vendor on the unpaid payables window. You will be asked whether or not to hold with retainage, and CHS will prepare the retainage deduction entries, and it tells you about entering that percent just like I did. So there's some information about that. So I just wanted to show you that this vendor has been checkmarked to withhold retainage and to withhold 10% to pay later on bills. I want to actually go over to the area where unpaid bills are, where I've already entered some bills for this vendor. Instead of just, because when you're entering the bill, when you actually are entering the bill, CHS doesn't pop up and say, oh, you're going to withhold retainage. Where the pop-up happens about retainage is when you're selecting bills to pay. So I'm just opening for just that particular vendor. Notice that there's something that we're paying a cost of framing for labor. So I'll just use that one, and I'll check mark it to pay. And let's watch what happens. Right away, it popped up and told me the vendor is marked for deducting retainage on the vendor setup window. If you select yes, CHS will first save all these check marks that I made, and then it asks if I want to open a window to deduct the retainage. It knows what retainage I put on the vendor setup, but I could change that retainage percent here for this particular bill for whatever reason if I want to. And it's asking if I want to post it to the same GL account that the original bill is posted to. If there's for some reason you're posting it to another general ledger account on your chart of accounts, for whatever reason, to hold the retainages in and out, that's your choice. You can talk to your accountant about that, but I'm going to go ahead and click Post the Retainage Entries. It says they've been posted, the original entry has been selected to pay, and the retainage deduction has been selected to pay. The retainage deduction window will close and the unpaid payables list will refresh. Now let's go look and see what happened. Notice we have two more lines in here under the 4,000. These two are check marked to pay. In other words, if we print a check for this vendor and don't check any of these other old ones or whatever, the check would be for, what is that? $3,600, because it'd be 4,000 minus 400, the amounts that we've selected to pay. Now here's another one that's not check marked to pay that will just stay here to pay later. It will still be on the unpaids list for this vendor. For example, up here, way back when I was demoing, we did a 10% discount on a $41,500, and the retainage is still sitting here to pay 3 years later, but that's just because this is my demo thing and I'm not really a builder. So that's how the retainage happens, and CHS will take care of it. So you'd leave this $400 here to pay at some other point and probably print the check for $3,600. Hopefully that makes sense. There is help about this with question mark buttons, like I say, on the window for all of that. That's all I wanted to demonstrate in this video. Back to the vendors list. That's what we'll be talking about in the very next video, is insurance expirations and some other expirations that you can set up to be alerted about for the vendor. Thank you for watching.